Welcome back to All Things Ag. Today I have our first alert meteorologist, Shelden Breshears, here today. And we're going to talk about just some of the wildfire weather details and kind of going into that, as well as talking about weather for your crops. So Shelden,
yes,
let's kind of get into it. Can you kind of describe what causes that wildfire weather?
I mean, the thing is, if we'd have to think back to, of course, last year. So we actually ended, on the books last year with a surplus. We had more rain than what we usually get for the calendar year of 2025. But the problem is that it stopped back in kind of October, November, and it really hasn't come back very much since then. Of course, we're kicking off March now, and it's been pretty dry. We had that one small snow. We got about 4 inches of it here in Amarillo. Some places fared a little bit better, and we've kind of just had light showers here and there. We haven't had any big major events, and so you had all that, the grasslands, everything like that was just feeding off that moisture we got last year. It grew up, of course, the winter season, a lot of it dries out anyways, and then it's drying out that much more because there's just not any incoming moisture to, of course, keep it green. And so as we get our way into the spring season, as we know, with springtime comes those spring-like winds here in the Panhandle, and unfortunately those winds pick up, everything's already dry as it is, and then everything's just ripe for wildfire danger.
Yeah, and so let's talk about how that's also going to affect crops. I know that we're still kind of in a drought. Is that true?
Yes, yeah. So our drought monitor right now, our official classifications, we have anywhere ranging from abnormally dry to moderate drought to even severe drought in some places. And of course, that gets updated every couple of weeks, but obviously we haven't had anything recently to bring any of those categorizations down. So like I said, every part of the area is at least abnormally dry compared to where we should be. By the numbers so far this year, we're anywhere from about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch behind on precipitation, at least for here in Amarillo, and that pretty much extends to most of the area because, like I said, there's not too many areas that have seen that much more moisture than we have here in the central parts of the Panhandle.
100%. And so looking forward and ahead, do you see maybe some rain coming in hopefully soon, or do you think we're going to stick to our drought?
Well, the thing is, of course, I don't know if we're going to see anything necessarily immediately, but as we get into springtime, of course, we start to get the potential for, severe weather events, but of course that can bring in rain chances as well. But the thing is, I think there's reason for hope and optimism because we're kind of climbing our way out of La Nina right now. We've spent the winter time in a La Nina pattern, and of course, as we know, La Ninas are warmer, drier than what we should be. And so right now we're kind of on this upward swing, kind of swinging into what's called neutral. We're in either El Nino or La Nina right now, but sometimes neutral can be pretty good. Sometimes we can still get some good events. Most of last year was spent in what we call neutral. But the thing is most models are agreeing here as we go into, from February into March, models seem to be agreeing on a pretty sharp upswing from neutral up into possibly El Nino as soon as this summer. So the thing is, as we transition out of La Nina, it might take a little time to start to see those impacts change. Just because we've technically come out of La Nina doesn't necessarily mean, okay, the rainy season starts. But as we start to work our way into, say, March, April, May, I think we could start to see signs of that changing pattern, getting into that neutral phase. And then once we get into summertime, start to get that El Nino going. And if we can hold that through the winter time, that could really bode well for our farmers around the area of keeping that moisture going in the summertime. And then if we can keep it going into the winter time where it doesn't just shut off, I think is really going to be good news for our farmers. So we're going to watch for those impacts. And of course, we want those models to hold, keep us on that upward trend because of course, we get up into El Nino, things start to look a little bit better. Those temperatures come down, the moisture totals generally go up. I would think back to, a lot of farmers can think back, years of, the 80s was a good decade. Of course, 2000 was pretty good. Here recently in our area, of course, we had, last year was pretty solid. 2015 was one of our hottest, or not hottest, our best El Nino years ever based on just the numbers. For those of you who follow the El Nino index, we were plus 2.6. For those of you who know, that's way up there on the El Nino index, and that was a pretty wet year here for a lot of the Panhandle. So not exactly sure how high it's going to go, but if it continues on its trajectory, good news is hopefully by the summer we can be swinging into El Nino, and generally that means good things for the Panhandle in terms of moisture chances and cooler temperatures, which of course obviously better that looks, the worse it looks for fire danger. Necessarily worse, the more positive it looks for us. That fire danger goes way down, which of course we always want to see that.
Yeah, 100%, and that will also help with all of our spring crops coming up and everything this summer, and kind of canceling out that fire weather danger hopefully, and that way not everything is so dry, and hopefully the farmers will have better luck this year.
Yeah, we certainly need the relief for sure. And the problem is you kind of have to take the good with the bad, especially in the springtime, because as we know, March and April, these are the months when we really get those strong wind events. So when we get those low pressures coming through, of course, we need those low pressure systems to give us those shots at rain showers, thunderstorms, things like that. But if they do go too far north, we get put in what's called the dry slot. Then we get those wind event days, and if it does stay dry, unfortunately that wildfire danger can come with it. So as long as those low pressures are coming through, we have a shot at catching it right and getting some rain chances, but we also have just that much of a same shot of getting a wind event as well. So we really got to stay on top of it.
Okay, awesome. And then is there anything else that you would like to let the farmers and ranchers know just about the weather, fire danger, or crop season?
I mean, of course, there's lots of great resources out there. I myself, on my Facebook page, I do post monthly updates talking about where that El Nino and La Nina phase is and what that might mean for our area. And of course, the Climate Prediction Center for those really long-term forecasts. Those are always great resources. Like I said, for myself, I kind of write up not necessarily dumb it down, but I make it a little more digestible, kind of take all the scientific terms out of it, make it a little bit easier to understand. So once a month, we get those updates from the Climate Prediction Center, and I try to, get that out to the masses as well. So keep an eye out for those updates. And like I said, we're all praying for rain here.
All right, amazing. Well, that was great, and hopefully everybody's getting that information that they need, and hopefully that fire weather and all that drought goes away soon. So thank you, Shelden, for joining me, and thank you guys for joining us as well, and we'll keep you updated as more comes along.